Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Honourable Mention podcast where we talk about Honour Wrestling. First up, we are going to recap the Wednesday, the 20th July showdown, which of course made its debut on Spike TV and Hulu Plus from the T-Mobile Center in Las Vegas, Nevada. And it was a great night with action-packed wrestling from start to finish. Some awesome things happened, some not so awesome things happened. The tournament, everyone's talking about it. Everyone wants to know who's going to win this Honour Championship. Everyone wants to know who's going to win the Women's Championship for Honour Wrestling. And I just want to get your thoughts right now. What do you think was noteworthy on that night?
I think that there was a lot of stuff that happened going forward in the tournament, and some surprises as well, with I think one of the Hunter brothers possibly dropping out for his other one to take part on the next show.
Yes, that was Chris Hunter. Chris Hunter won his match. Kevin Hunter lost his, but Chris Hunter dropped out of the tournament so his older brother Kevin could re-enter after Kevin lost.
So one played Big
Gabriel
Boy
Griffin.
for the other one.
Basically, yes. I think it must be a Sons of Chaos thing.
Okay. I think probably the ones to watch on the male side would be Dexter, Anthony and Alex Jones, just for the fact that one has, a lot of brand and name recognition, and the other one is making a huge impact both in the ring and out of it. Dexter Anthony's been very vocal on Twitter about how he feels towards the rest of the roster and how he feels in regards to the tournament. I do think that Alex Jones has a lot of competition in Gabriel Griffin this week, but I don't know if he can really do what's needed to get the job done.
I completely disagree, just simply for the fact that Alex Jones, his first opponent didn't even turn up, that he's taking credit for
his first opponent was a fucking chicken shit little wanker who didn't even show up. So, of course Alex Jones is going to take fucking credit for that. The guy was too fucking pussy to even go in the ring and face the guy. How would you not take credit for that? How would you not stand there and say, I'm the best in the fucking world and no one has the balls to face me?
We don't know what happened. That's like Samantha Tolson taking credit for JMC having to drop out. Beside the fact that it was some sort of automobile accident, I believe, that took out JMC. We're hearing a lot of
I don't know. We're not supposed to fucking talk about it, are we? Because it's all up in the air and no one knows, and there's been accusations of other roster members apparently being involved or whatever, so it's all very mysterious.
It's still the same thing. Tolson is not turning around taking credit for JMC's accident.
How is
Why would
it the
Alex
same
Jones
thing?
It's
because
the
Alex
thing.
Jones' opponent was not in some accident. There's not been some fucking press release saying whoever the hell it was, because he's that irrelevant that I can't even remember his name, was in some accident or was injured. The guy just didn't show up. He saw who his opponent was, shit his fucking pants, and didn't show up like the little bitch he is. It's the same with the fucking Sons of Chaos, whatever. Big Brother says, I want a place in the tournament, even though he couldn't get the job done. So what's he going to do? Fail again this week and then Sons of Chaos are out of the tournament for good? Let's be honest, they are not competitors in this tournament whatsoever.
If we're being honest here, Kevin Hunter is the stronger of the two brothers, and if Chris wants to drop out to let his older brother come into the tournament, I don't see a problem.
Of course you're going to say that, because you seem to have this idea where anyone who is even remotely a half-decent human being deserves a fair shot. That's not how the fucking world works.
Well,
the arseholes and the dickheads are the ones that fucking take over. And Gabriel Griffin is a lovely guy. He really fucking is. But let's be real for a minute. Alex Jones will do whatever it takes to win that match. Will Gabriel Griffin? No. He won't. He'll talk a big game. He'll go out there. Alex will fucking cheat like he always does, and Alex Jones will win.
How can you actually turn around and condone that sort of thing? Gabriel Griffin...
Because it's doing what needs to be done.
Gabriel Griffin is a technical genius.
Nobody cares.
The guy is one of the greatest young amateur wrestlers going, and he came into the professional world. He has his own gym called the Beat You Gym. The guy trains other people.
So does fucking Caden Kessler, but he's still a cunt when he needs to be.
Yeah, some people don't need to be, and Gabriel Griffin's not one of them.
Everyone needs to be. What's next? You're going to tell me that fucking Alice, Morrow, Kessler, whatever, is going to have a decent career because she fucking smiles at everyone. Bull fucking shit. You have to do what needs to be done. If you're not willing to do that, there is only so far in this industry that you are going to go.
Alice Kessler, by the way, not Morrow, she got married. You might as well show some actual respect for people who, want to change their lives and be with someone.
I'm sorry, I didn't realise we were fucking TMZ all of a sudden. Do you want to talk about the fact that Eleanor D. whatever is fucking Zach Goldman? Let me guess, that's respectable too, because she wants to have a happy relationship. Nobody fucking cares. Let's be honest, okay? The only reason people care about relationships in wrestling is it's something else to fucking bitch about.
I think, honestly, instead of talking about that, I'd rather talk about the fact that Eleanor D. Drucker and Alice Kessler are going to be facing each other.
Ugh.
They both got through the first round, as well as
And
Samantha
everyone's so
Tolson
excited
and
about
Quinn
that.
Rivers.
No, but wait, why is everyone so excited about that match? It is two of the most boring, nicest people on the planet basically shaking hands in the middle of the ring. There is going to be nothing noteworthy whatsoever about that fucking match. Do we really care who wins that match?
Some people still like athletic competition between two respectable
How is
opponents.
it athletic competition when one of them's been out for 2 years and the other one has spent 5 minutes in a fucking training facility with her now husband? That's not a huge athletic capability, whatever. That's a fucking jerk off for every fat redneck in the audience with his hand on his dick. That's what that is.
Okay, well, what about Samantha Tolson and Quinn Rivers?
Okay, that's a decent match, I'll give you that one, because Tolson is going to destroy Quinn Rivers.
Well, that is your opinion, and
You
I
want
know
to
how
talk
good
about
Samantha
ring experience?
Tolson is.
Samantha Tolson has the most ring experience out of everyone in that competition.
Experience doesn't always win matches. If experience won matches, then Aleister Black probably would have beaten Dexter Anthony because he's on a Legends contract, same as your hero Alex Jones, but he failed. He failed against Dexter Anthony. Now, Dexter Anthony is going to have to face Kevin Hunter, who is replacing Chris Hunter.
Dexter Anthony's going to walk that.
We then have Earl Lockyer, who is going to be going up against Mark
Wait.
Storm.
Does anyone actually know who that dude is? Because honestly, did he do anything noteworthy on that first show? Because I can't even remember the guy's match.
Earl Lockyer, he destroyed Aaron Mercer.
No, completely unfucking noteworthy. Sorry, next.
Sorry, there's nothing to repeat.
Fuck off, Siri.
Moving on. We have Mark Storm in that match against Earl
Okay,
Lockyer.
Mark Storm is another one of those little indie darling, I did all the circuits and I'm so wonderful. No. Again, nobody cares about that match. The only people in that tournament that people give a shit about are Gabriel Griffin for some unknown reason, Dexter Anthony, and Alex Jones. Next you're going to tell me that Tucker Bryant matters.
Well, Tucker Bryant is facing Liam Whalen, and Liam Whalen has also made a big name for himself recently on Twitter. He got into it with Dexter.
Do you mean Finn Whelan?
Yeah, that one.
Finn Whelan's actually quite an exceptional competitor. Definitely on my one to watch list.
Well, he's going to be going up against Tucker Bryant. So, if we're done with who you think is going to win and the people we're supposed to
Whelan,
watch,
Jones,
why don't I actually go through the
Anthony,
matches instead of you butting
Storm.
in?
That's who's going to win those matches.
So we're going to get down to Dexter Anthony against Mark Storm and Whelan against Jones.
Yep.
Who do you think's going to go into the finals out of those four?
Definitely Anthony. Dexter Anthony is destined to be in the final of that tournament. And if Alex Jones is the beast that we know he can be, then he will beat Whelan. But at the same time, that guy's got a lot of promise.
Okay. What about, you already said you think it'll be Samantha Tolson going over
I
Quinn
don't
Rivers.
fucking care who goes in there with her.
So
Let's
you
be
don't care.
honest.
You just think it'll be Tolson against either Morrow or Elena, and
Whichever
whoever
weak
is there
little
is going to lose.
bitch makes her way
Tolson.
through to be owned by Tolson.
Well, I think that, honestly, either one of them, Morrow or Elena, getting through
Didn't you
against
just tell me
Tolson
not
would
to
be
call
good.
her Morrow because that was disrespectful? Isn't it Kessler now?
Well, it's written as Morrow on the website. And maybe they should change that before they do anything else. But we could go into some signing news with John
Why
Blake.
don't we instead talk about who we actually think matters, because John Blake fucking doesn't, and have a look at Mayhem and who we think is actually going to make a splash on there, because one person who has impressed me is Serenity Wilson. She is someone who no one thought was going to do anything, that was just another name in the Wilson family, and she went on to be the first Honor Wrestling Diamond Champion. Now that is fucking exceptional.
This is true. But then again, are we really concerned with Mayhem? It's being main evented by a creepy little pervert against a arrogant little also-ran who's getting off on his dad's name. So why do we care about this show?
Because Austin's got to fucking prove that he is better than that Mercer name, and Eric Pasiano, what the fuck ever, really needs to finally be put in his place. In past companies that he's been in, he has got away with way too fucking much, and everyone is sick of it. One glance at Twitter will tell you that there is not a single person, except for Daisy Day, who is nice to fucking everyone, who even likes the guy.
Well, if we're going to go through this, we might as well do it right. I am going to name all the matches, and I would like you to give me your honest opinion on who you think is actually going to win them.
Do it.
Aaron Mercer versus Renee Pleasant.
Renee fucking Pleasant is a beast. Aaron Mercer doesn't stand a chance. In fact, he should probably fucking not show up, just like Alex Jones' opponent last week, because there is no way in hell that guy is walking out of the arena.
Alright. Our lovely Russian, Alyssa Ruskaya versus Shane Prada versus Trixie.
Who fucking cares?
Cyril Blaine versus Vladimir Krishkev.
Who fucking cares?
John Blade versus Joshua Davidson.
Anyone that's not John Blade.
Amok versus Chris Hunter.
Amok, because that guy again, fucking beast.
Ryuji Takahashi and Jackson Stewart.
Do you want to try that one again?
Ryuji Takahashi and Jackson Stewart.
The one that you can't pronounce.
Chris Kane versus Dick Devereaux.
Dick Devereaux, because Chris Kane's fucking injured, remember?
I wonder why he got signed in the match then.
I think he got announced his injury after the match.
Hey, well, we might as well move on to Showdown.
Wait, no. What do you think is going to happen when Renee Pleasant does debut on Mayhem after the Twitter war today between him and Caden Kessler when we discovered that Alex fucking Kessler is a Pleasant?
Well, I actually don't think anything's going to happen because Caden Kessler's all bark and absolutely no bite. He ran out of that other club, which, by the way, is failing miserably, and he's done nothing since. He has stayed on the sidelines.
But even if, right, say Kessler stays in the audience and behaves himself, you really think that Renee fucking Pleasant is going to just be backstage with his cousin who was excommunicated from the family, like, 5 years ago and not even speak to her? Make no attempt whatsoever to bait Caden Kessler when we know what a fucking dick the guy is.
Well, he might be able to bait him, but I can kind of guess that Honor Security is going to be hyped up. I mean, Zach Goldman's not stupid. He doesn't
no, but
want
fucking
a
Alex
lawsuit.
Kessler is.
Well, moving on to Showdown. Who do you think is going to win out of Alexis Terry and Tiffany Prada?
Alexis Terry, she's a fucking legend.
Earl Lockyer and Mark Storm.
Mark Storm.
Brittany Olsen and Emma Douglas.
Not fucking Brittany Olsen.
Finn and Tucker.
Finn.
And Tolson Rivers, you already said Tolson. And of course you already said
Wait
repeatedly...
though, let's be fair and not discount Rivers, who actually has made a very good showing for a rookie, and in comparison to the other Kessler student, is actually pretty impressive, but still not enough.
We already said you don't give a shit about the Kessler versus Elena match. Dexter Anthony and Kevin Hunter. Dexter Anthony, right?
Yeah, we covered that.
And Alex Jones you think is going to beat Gabriel Griffin.
Yeah, because Gabriel Griffin, as talented as he is not going to go to the lengths that Alex Jones will.
Well, if that's honestly how you feel. I don't know what else to say because it really is like trying to argue with the Donald Trump supporter. But the truth is that we have so many ultra-talented people in Honor. We sit there and we watch the show, we see how great they are in the ring, and this early we really don't know what's going to happen.
Let's talk for a minute about how impressive that debut show was. It was so impressive that my entire Twitter feed for a good 12 hours was just all about Honor Wrestling. There are very few wrestling companies that have made the impact that Honor Wrestling has. They went out there with a talent level and a quality that is unparred to 90% of companies out there today, especially when you consider that there has been a lot of hate behind the company, especially with the fact that Anna Valentine Jones was employed as VP of Talent. Now let's be honest, she's a fucking bitch. So employing someone who is known to rub people the wrong way as your talent relations VP was a questionable move, but it seems to have worked because all of the talent has a fire lit under them. And even Alex Jones, who has, we'll get to a minute in the rumour section, definitely gone out of his way to rub his wife the wrong way, has gone out there and made a good showing. And that debut show was one of the best debut shows that we have seen in years when it comes to wrestling.
That is true. The show received great ratings and so many people viewed it around the world, whether it was on Hulu Plus or Spike TV or the replays or they illegally streamed it online, what have you. It has received rave reviews, and the roster built up to the point where Zach Goldman had to basically get extra airtime to do a second show because the talent level is that high and the amount of people who have signed contracts and people who are coming to Honor Wrestling. That's a story as well. Zach Goldman hasn't actually had to recruit that much.
A relative unknown who has walked into the business basically blind and created this brand that is inarguably already one of the biggest brand names out there. And that goes further into showing with certain things this company offers that others don't, like the corporate sponsorships. That's a huge extra income for a lot of those wrestlers, especially the ones at the lower levels that are on the developmental contracts, that are getting this extra income just from this brand name and from signing with Honor. And as you mentioned before, there are other feds out there, like The Club, which honestly need a paddle thrown because they're up shit creek and are blaming people like Honor Wrestling when it's simply the fact that they will never be as good.
Well, you mentioned before that we were going to the rumours section. Let's kick off with the one that you actually decided to mention first. The great Alex Jones and Anna Valentine Jones rumour that there is trouble in paradise between them.
That's because Alex Jones has decided to shake his dick all over Twitter in whichever direction it pleases him, knowing that that is going to push the buttons of his wife when just months ago he was complaining that she, quote unquote, entertained the attention of people that were less than her.
Well, these are just rumours for now, but a lot of people have come into question the friendship that he has going back over a decade with Elena Drucker. Not just that, but his apparent budding friendship with Alice Kessler and even his niece, Anna Valentine's niece, Eliza Valentine.
But here's the interesting thing with that. She doesn't seem to care about the Alice Kessler friendship, and she certainly doesn't care about the Eliza Valentine thing. That's her niece. She knows she can trust her niece. I think the big issue here, and what's made it a bigger issue with Elena, is this apparent relationship with Zach Goldman. Because let's not forget that Anna Valentine has a reputation for using her assets, shall we say, to get ahead. And I think a big part of that is going to be the fact that maybe Anna sees herself in Elena and doesn't trust her because of that. Do we think Alex Jones is really going to cheat? No. But do we know what goes on behind closed doors? Of course not.
That's true. We don't know what goes behind closed doors. But at the same time, I actually agree with you. I don't see Alex Jones cheating. And Anna does have a rather abrasive personality, but she is very good for Honor Wrestling.
Going on with the relationship theme, what about the apparent relationship between Gabriel Griffin and Serenity Wilson?
Well, if that's how they want to carry on, all for them. You need to.
Do we think that they're going to be Honor's power couple? I mean, Serenity Wilson has already been crowned a champion at Honor, and you seem to think that Gabriel Griffin can go the whole way. And let's be honest here, if he went the whole way and he won the thing, both of them being first crowned champions in Honor Wrestling, that's a big deal. That would be a huge move. And the fact that they've, coupled up and are very obviously fond of each other, shall we say, that would definitely be a power couple move. How do you think the rest of the roster is going to feel if that's what happens?
I'm sure some people would actually be happy for them, depending on how they felt personally about the people, and there's always going to be some form of jealousy. You're going to have some people looking at, if it should happen, the power couple and being jealous. It'd just be like if Alex Jones was to happen to go all the way and win the Honor Championship. I mean, Anna's not an active competitor right now, but she's the VP of Talent Relations. She's in a position of power. Her husband would be a champion. They would be considered a power couple. What would happen if Caden Kessler were to sign a contract and come into Honor Wrestling and he and Alice both ended up holding championships? What would happen if Samantha Tolson's lovely girlfriend Ashley came in and they ended up holding the Diamond and Women's Championships? They would be considered a power couple, but there's always going to be jealousy, and if Gabriel Griffin ends up winning a title with Serenity being a champion, there's going to be people who are jealous.
Let's carry on that theme of jealousy and talk about a couple of rumours that I heard in regard to the last two fan access events that happened.
Mm-hmm.
Well, a little birdie told me that there was a level of jealousy from Quinn Rivers in regard to the fact that several competitors did bring their other better halves along, and she was not permitted to do so by the company.
Well, a lot of the people who did bring their better halves along, those better halves either have management contracts or
name value.
Or have name value. If Quinn Rivers' partner was not allowed into these events, then the reason would probably be simply for the fact that they didn't have any name value and they weren't signed on. Whether or not this is a policy from Honor Wrestling going forward for their fan events, we don't know. But this is something that Quinn's going to have to bring up with Honor Wrestling and not anyone else. Look at Austin Mercer and Daisy Daughtry. Daisy's an employee of the company. Austin is an employee of the company. They were both permitted to go to the fan access event.
So, taking a different tack now, obviously we know that Melina Wilson, who is linked to Caden Kessler and the cousin, I believe, of Serenity Wilson, was seen, coaching and giving advice to Quinn Rivers despite the fact that she trains under Caden. Now, it's been said on Twitter that he isn't bothered if she seeks help or training from outside. Do you think a part of that is the fact that he has not been around to give the attention to his trainees that he has needed to because of this relationship that he's now in?
This is a bit of a tricky question, simply for the fact that I don't think any of us can really fully speculate on what happens when it comes to Caden Kessler and his wrestling school and everyone who's there, because there are a fair few people who are trainees under Caden and under the other trainers he has who are in Honor Wrestling. There are rumours flying around that Caden honestly hasn't spent anywhere near as much time with his trainees as he used to because of his marriage. But then again, the guy's just recently got married. I'm sure everything will return to normal eventually, but for right now I think he's just focusing on being happy and being away from the ring, being, quote-unquote, retired right now.
Okay, so moving away from the same repetitive names, you brought up signings and things like that. Do you find it interesting that Renee Pleasant has apparently signed without his wife, Amber Richards, who is a very successful in-ring competitor? Do you think that perhaps Honor Wrestling is unwilling to condone the suspected behaviour between the two of them, whereas other federations are happy to look past it?
That is the rumour. The rumour is that Honor Wrestling was not willing to give Amber a contract simply for the fact that having them both under contract as professional wrestlers and performers would be detrimental to Honor Wrestling and would also mean that if anything was to happen in a legal construct, Honor Wrestling would be looked at as liable for certain things. So I think it's a very smart tactic from Zach Goldman to sign someone like Renee to boost the male division in Honor Wrestling, but also Amber has been signed to a management contract. She's allowed to accompany Renee to the ring. She's allowed to go to fan access events. She's even allowed to pop in during interviews. But I just think it's a legal tactic, and who knows, maybe that'll clear up. Maybe Amber Richards will sign. But right now, just having Renee on the roster, and of course the signing of Austin James Mercer, and as much as you dislike it, the signing of someone like a John Blade, not to mention...
Let's talk for a minute about another new signing, which is the Prada Sisters. Now, they're a relative unknown to the Honor universe. They have some scattered about friendships, I suppose, but they are definitely a relative unknown. The basic understanding I get from the pair is that 99% of what they rely on is their looks. Now, do you really think that is a substantial thing to carry through in the ring?
No, they're going to get eaten alive. Simply for the fact that for so long women's wrestling has had this messed up stigma where, oh, I'm a failed actress, I'm a failed singer, I'm going to try my hand at wrestling. No, this is a legitimate business. You've got someone like Alice Kessler who's trying to train and become better. You've got someone like Samantha Tolson who is a legitimate threat and a legitimate professional wrestler who has a name.
Okay, I agree with you there. Samantha Tolson is someone that everyone should take note of and look at her and say, that's what I want to be when I grow up. That's the kind of wrestler I want to be.
And someone like Amber Richards, who you mentioned before, she's someone who, although still young, is a professional wrestler. You look at the other names on the female roster. You've got Eleanor, who, although she's a professional wrestler, she's just taken 2 years off. You've got Trixie, who has made a splash in other companies.
Trixie is definitely one that I would say people have got to watch out for, because she's another one who is very deceiving in the fact that, yes, she is a very pretty face, but that girl is vicious in the ring when she needs to be, and she will claw her way to the top if she has
Well,
to.
what about Brittany Olsen? Yes, she lost to Alice Kessler,
But very
she comes
barely.
from an Olsen.
Okay, I would
an Olsen
admit,
wrestling
I
family.
rolled my eyes and groaned when you mentioned her before, but she does come from a wrestling family, and unlike other people we could talk about, she's definitely trying to overcome the family name instead of rest on the laurels of it. And yeah, she lost against Alice Kessler, but she didn't get owned. She didn't get thrown around the ring. That could have gone either way. Especially if she had managed to capitalise on the distraction that Alice Kessler had in the middle of the ring at the hands of Daisy Day. Now, the real question is, was that on purpose?
I've heard that rumour. I don't think it was. She can't control the guys at ringside. They were catcalling, and also Alice Kessler has to get over this. She needs to be able to focus on her opponent. If she doesn't focus on her opponent, then she's going to end up failing.
Much like the other company that we're not allowed to talk about, where she allowed a distraction there to almost break her wrist. Do you remember that? All the incessant tweets about the Kaniso tape and the bruises. And so it's not the first time that she's allowed herself to be distracted in the ring, but as much as I take the piss and I'm discounting her, this was her fourth competitive match.
Something like that.
She's 3 victories to 1 loss, which was a tag team match where she again lost focus to chase the little creeper across the arena instead. So she has had a very impressive showing. She's already a former champion 4 matches in. There aren't many people that can claim that kind of start to their career. But at the same time, she is still very young, she's very green, and she's easily distracted. And someone like Elena, who, even though she's had 2 years away from the ring, knows what she's doing and has ring awareness, will be able to capitalise on that where Brittany Olsen couldn't.
This is very true. Let's shift away from the women's division just to kind of get into the male side of things, and then we'll wrap this up really quickly. But where do you see some of the bigger names that unfortunately had to drop out of the tournament going? Guys like Chris Kane, Aaron Mercer, Alistair Black, Alistair Black is on the same kind of contract as Alex Jones. Those 2 guys have names that are synonymous with professional wrestling, and Alistair Black got beaten by Dexter Anthony. Where do you see guys like Alistair Black and Chris Kane going in their careers in Honor now that they've dropped out of the tournament?
It's a tournament. Nothing's over. Nothing's decided. Alistair Black could very easily rise to be the #1 contender for whoever does actually win this tournament. There's nothing in the tournament rules that says whoever comes second is going to get another shot. I don't think that's how it's going to work in Honor. What people are forgetting is that Honor runs very differently. This is a smooth, well-calculated operation, and Zach Goldman knows what he's doing, and he has a team behind him who knows what they're doing. They've had 1 show and they're already splitting into 2 shows. Now, they're not splitting the roster, they're not splitting the brand. They're being very smart about this. They have a Diamonds Championship match on the debut edition of Mayhem coming up in August. Most companies would say, this is our secondary show, we're not going to have Total Defences on there, but they're getting the bums in the seats. They're getting, the viewership numbers. They're getting interest. Not a day goes by where you don't see someone talking about Honor Wrestling and wanting to check them out. They are a constantly growing company, and I think the only way that anyone like Alistair Black is going to go is up, because there's so much potential there for growth.
I'd like to talk about wrestling companies for a moment. With Anna Valentine Jones in there, I guess we'd be a bit amiss if we didn't talk about VWS. The very short-lived, but it was an honestly successful company that she owned. We've seen a few familiar names pop up. Mark, and of course Alex, but also Mark Storm. Now, those 3 guys were all in Valentine Wrestling. What do you actually think of a Muck? Because he was starting to grow in that company.
Muck was definitely a big powerhouse, and I have to wonder if he's going to fall back into, stepping side by side with Alex Jones. We can't discount the fact that VWS existed, but at the same time, Anna is a businesswoman. It wasn't making money, she cut her losses, and she's, sort of bought her way in to the company that she's in now. She's putting very little investment into this, and she's got a lot to gain by being a part of it. And she doesn't even have to put her body on the line. Now, that's a smart businessman. Let's go back to talking about rumours and the fact that the names that have been linked to Honor Wrestling with...
Are we talking about Pixie and Persephone?
And Morrison.
Morrison.
Now, honestly, do I think there's any truth to the idea that Persephone, Priscilla Parker is going to sign with Honor? No. Do I think it's very, very smart of their media brand to say, we're going to start this rumour because it will get people talking?
Well, Twitter imploded.
Exactly. And there were so many people that were so angry at the idea of her signing Like, let's be honest here. The woman knows how to sell a story because you don't even know her and you hate her. You hear the name and there is a fire there. You hate that woman. Like with Pixie, you hear the name and you instantly feel warm. These women know how to build a brand. They know how to represent themselves. They know who they are and what they are, and they are unapologetic for it. And whether or not they sign with Honor Wrestling tomorrow or in 6 months, it doesn't matter. The fact that they are linked to Honor Wrestling is never going to go away.
I'm just thinking about the dream matches that could happen. I mean, who wouldn't want to see, Pixie against Samantha Tolson, or who wouldn't want to see Persephone against Trixie, or Brittany Olsen, or have Persephone go up against Anna Valentine coming out of...
Especially since they've been very vocal about their respect for one another, and Anna has repeatedly said that she could get the job done where her husband didn't, in beating Persephone, and finally being the one that's been very vocal in their sort of small friendship group. And in that same way, Anna has been very vocal in her wanting to recruit people that are perhaps less than willing to wanting to be associated with Honor Wrestling right now. Like Eli Carlson, who is a relative nobody at one point, who has sort of burst onto the scene and is a huge name now.
This is true.
Everybody knows who Eli and Jeannie are. So again, Anna is being very smart in that constant slow poking of trying to recruit or poach, whatever you want to call it, these two big names. Realistically, she probably knows that's never going to happen, but every single time she pokes, people take notice.
Well, the thing is, Honor Wrestling has become an international affair. We obviously have, people like Aliska, who joined.
Aliska Rutskava?
Russian name.
Like the other Russian, which I got told how to pronounce, which is Chekhov?
Chekhov? Well, it's also, think about Finn. Finn Whalen is actually a native of Killarney Island. He's billed from Seattle, Washington, but he's Irish.
Finn Whalen has an exceptional amount of technical skill that has been built up over time. This is a guy that you really need to keep an eye on, because right now he's quiet. He's made a bit of a stir on Twitter, upsetting a few people, but he's been relatively low-key. That is the guy that is going to sneak up and snap your dreams from under you.
Well, he is certainly one to watch, but of course there is also Ryuji Takahashi from Kyoto, Japan. Again, another international name. Honor Wrestling is global. Yeah, it's on Spike TV and Hulu, but it is global.
What's the new guy that they recently signed? Daisy J was talking about him on Twitter as one to watch, and his name escapes me right now, but the guy has an exceptional amount of focus. And again, he's someone who is causing a very low-key stir in that he upset Serenity Wilson today. Like, I saw that somewhere on my feed. And then, you've got to think about the fact that who the hell is this random woman who was baiting Alice Kessler earlier today on Twitter and talking about calling her Little Rabbit, and how she knows that Alice wears these costumes to hide who she is, and that, she's going to come in on her own terms and take this over. There are people in the shadows waiting for their moment to really pounce in on a wrestling. And I think that these reveals are only going to come with time. And the more and more this goes on and it exists, the more the fans are going to tune in to find out more. So who knows, maybe it's some marketing ploy, or maybe it really is some female wrestler who is just sick of seeing people like Alice Kessler on their TV representative of what they do.
The young man who was interacting with Daisy Day earlier today, which has of course time with Honor Wrestling, is Joshua Davidson.
That's the one.
He certainly has made a fair few ripples in Honor Wrestling just by turning up and by talking about it. And that's the thing about Honor Wrestling. Yeah, you've got the guys like Aleister Black, you've got Alex Jones, you've got these guys who are considered legends. Then you do have guys who have names around like Jackson Stewart, Dexter Anthony, but it just goes to show you don't have to already have a name to come into Honor Wrestling to be a name. And that is what they're honestly building, and we are looking forward to the first Mayhem, to the first Showdown, looking forward to getting this tournament done to see who's going to be the first Honor Champion, the first Women's Champion, the first Prestige Champion, because the Prestige title still needs a owner. And we're also looking forward to seeing how the reign of Serenity Wilson comes along with the Diamonds title. To kind of wrap things up here, the way I see it is Honor is one of these new companies that has just burst onto the scene. There are some other companies that have existed longer that just aren't cutting it, and Honor Wrestling is definitely one of those places where these people, if they're feeling devalued and they want a company to try and work for, they should
Like
want
the
to.
rumour that apparently William Dafoe was seen in the Honor Wrestling HR.
Eric Dafoe.
Eric Dafoe.
Although it would be good if we got Willem Dafoe, because I love his acting.
But Eric Dafoe, who apparently was seen in the HR offices, which again is another name who
Was associated with the club.
very undervalued in where he is. So hopefully we do see him in Honour. Before we wrap this up, we need to cover the fact that as from the next edition of Honourable Mentions, which will be coming to you first week of August, immediately following Mayhem, not following Showdown this time, so that we can cover absolutely everything that happens in the Honour universe, you can submit your questions by DMing Zach Goldman or Anna Valentine James on Twitter. Make sure you do it repetitively just to piss them off, because I get a fucking kick out of it.
Though I think they should also be able to PM Daisy Daughtry, because she mentioned something about wanting to listen to the podcast, and she is the official hype girl, so you might as well bug her as well. She might even send you a sexy Snapchat or something just to say thank you.
Oh, I don't doubt it.
But that was all for Honourable Mentions for this week, and we will see you again.